Hey, I've got you. Have you ever noticed how you can start a school term feeling completely on top of everything, and then, a few weeks in, it begins to feel like you're slipping, even though you're working just as hard? The beginning of a term has a very particular feeling to it. There is a sense of clarity, almost like things are contained. Your planning is in place, your routines are starting to form, and you walk into the classroom with the feeling that this time things are going to run more smoothly. You feel organised, you feel prepared, and for a while it actually holds. It isn't usually obvious at first. It might show up when you sit down to plan and realise it's taking longer than it did a few weeks ago. Or when you notice that the same level of noise in the classroom feels slightly harder to manage than it used to. You're still doing everything you were doing before, still showing up, still thinking, still responding, yet it begins to feel heavier. And that is often the moment when a niggling question starts to appear. Why can I start strong but not seem to sustain it? It is very easy, especially early in your career, to turn that question back onto yourself. You might assume it must be something about your organisation, or your resilience, or your ability to manage the workload across the term. You might tell yourself you just need to be more disciplined, more efficient, or somehow better at keeping everything together. There is something important to see here. That pattern of starting strong and then fading is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something in the way the work is being approached is difficult to sustain. And what is often missing is not effort. It is systems. Teaching does not stay the same from week 1 to week 6. It would be great if it did. At the beginning of the term, you are running on fresh energy. There's novelty in what you're doing, a sense of reset, and your mind is naturally more engaged when things feel new and structured. As the weeks move forward, the work begins to layer. You understand your students more deeply, which means you are holding more information about them. Marking builds, behaviour patterns settle in, lessons need adjusting, and small decisions keep appearing throughout the day. None of these things feel overwhelming on their own, yet together they create weight. And by the middle of the term, you are carrying more than you were at the beginning. What often sits underneath this pattern is something teachers don't always notice at first. The school term does not usually begin at a sustainable pace. It often begins in what could be described as sprint mode. You're trying to get everything right, stay on top of everything, and respond to everything at once. It feels productive in those early weeks, though it is not a pace that can carry across the entire term. Across time, that creates a cycle. You begin at a higher intensity, you hold it for as long as you can, and then your energy starts to drop as your system asks for recovery. When that drop happens, it can feel like something is slipping. At the beginning of the term, motivation carries you. It helps you organise and feel in control. Motivation is useful, though it is not designed to carry the full rhythm of teaching. Something else takes over as the term continues. This is where systems begin to matter. Teachers who feel steadier later in the term are not relying on motivation. They are relying on habits, small routines that continue working even when energy is lower. If you think about experienced teachers, you may notice that they do not appear to be pushing themselves harder. They have reduced the number of decisions they need to make throughout the day. I remember watching a colleague who had a very calm classroom. Her lessons were simple though consistent. She greeted students in the same way each morning, ended lessons with a familiar reflection, and set up for the next day before leaving. Systems do something important here. They shift your teaching away from intensity and into rhythm. A sustainable rhythm often looks quieter than you might expect. It might mean planning one lesson well rather than trying to perfect an entire week. It might mean deciding that one class receives detailed feedback today rather than all of them. My colleagues' actions were small, though they carried a great deal of the work. Every decision you make uses energy, and teaching involves a constant stream of decisions. When systems are not in place, effort carries that load, and over time, effort fades. Systems continue working in the background, even on lower energy days. You might wonder why the shift in energy doesn't appear at the beginning of the term. The answer sits partly in how the body responds to sustained effort. During the school day, your attention moves constantly outward, and there is little space to notice how much energy is being used. Across several weeks, that effort accumulates, and eventually your system signals that it needs recovery. This can feel like fatigue, or like the pace has become heavier. It isn't a failure, it is feedback. Real momentum in teaching does not come from maintaining high energy each day. It comes from knowing that even on a lower energy day, something small still moved forward. That might be one conversation, one adjustment, or one routine that held. Across a term, these small movements create far more stability than short bursts of high effort. Many teachers also carry the expectation that everything needs to work from the beginning, and that adds weight across time. When the focus shifts toward consistency, the work begins to feel steadier, and your energy stretches further across the term. If you have noticed that pattern, starting strong and then fading, it doesn't mean you're not suited to teaching. It means you are beginning to understand the rhythm of the work, and that understanding allows you to respond in a more sustainable way. If you keep starting each term strong, then hitting a wall weeks later, that is often a burnout pattern, not a motivation problem. That's exactly why I created 9 burnout hacks every teacher needs. It's a practical teacher burnout framework with simple resets for exhaustion, stress, emotional overload, self-doubt, and the patterns that slowly drain teachers over time. If that sounds like exactly what you need, watch that next. I'm the lead teacher. I've got you.